How you guys doing? This is like your first Comexposed, right?
Very good. Yes, my first.
First Comexposed.
Sad to say, but yeah, it is.
Yeah? What's the most interesting thing to you so far? What stuck out?
You know, just as I walked in and just seeing all these tables, artists showcasing their work, I was like, man, am I in Zim still? Because it's a community that I think most people out there don't really know about and are aware of. You know, but there's so much vibrant sort of creativity happening, so I'm really impressed. And just the turnout. I mean, you guys are doing fantastic work.
Thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. Huh? Now, for most of y'all didn't grow up in the 90s or the 80s. Most of y'all, a lot of y'all. But anyway, when I was a kid, there was a really, really vibrant hip hop community, right? But it was small, it was tiny, right? So there were guys that y'all probably have never heard of, like Metaphysics. Okay, well, you know, the one guy, there you go.
Silence.
That guy was born in the 80s. I like that, right? But then there was this one guy who came out with this song that dominated the airwaves and was on TV for at least half a decade. And then it was played on and off rotation for another half. And heck, I'm sure it's still played now. He had this song called Mau Mau. Yeah. Don't, you weren't born yet. It's all good. But he's the equivalent of my generation Zimbabwean LL Cool J or Nas. Yeah, you can clap your hands. Yeah. Verseless over there is like, I know him also. I know him. Come on, I'm faceless. Yo, so I like introductions like those because this is when I connect with the nerds. How many of you know Chris Do? Come on, designers. There's one, there's another. Chris Do. Okay. Now, it took a while. Shingi went off the radar for a bit. And then when he re-emerged for me, when I was now in the industry, I saw the material he was putting out and the content he was curating on his LinkedIn and so on. And I was like, wait a minute. This guy's like a Zimbabwean Chris Do. Who is he? And then I searched further and I was like, this is Mau Mau. So if you've got access, which I know you have thanks to our amazing sponsor, Telco, you can go on your phone and look for Shingi Sabeta, specifically on his LinkedIn. And believe you me, if you've got any design sense or design interest, you will not regret it. He's got this amazing way of blogging about local brands, adverts, brand usage, design, and he just analyzes the stuff and makes it so easy to consume for us little designers in a way that'll improve you. So I'm extremely honored and excited to bring that same sensibility to our panel. Let's clap hands for Shingi Sabeta.
Thank you.
Moving on, we've got nothing to scoff at all. In 2022, statistics have it that 22 Africans, for the very first time, 22 individual Africans were Grammy nominated. Did you know that? Yeah. And at that time, it is said that in 2022, for the very first time, creative exports in the form of music mainly eclipsed the export revenue from cocoa, from coffee, and other agricultural produce combined. And a lot of that income, a lot of that revenue can be captured by creatives through, surprise, surprise, telecoms companies. So, we got you a lady who wrote a dissertation with a distinction and is also a business development director for a telecoms company. Y'all hear me? I like that. Verseless was like, this is the first. And then when I said that, he straightened out. I like that. I'm the Pied Piper, man. Not R. Kelly, but the good one. Yeah, I took it there. Welcome, guys. How you all doing?
Thank you.
Did I do that justice?
Absolutely.
You want to add anything to that?
You did it exactly as I instructed you to do it.
Well,
so I'm happy.
You are the master. You are the master. So let's get to it, guys. We're talking about brands. And I'm sure you wrote a whole dissertation on it. So we're going to start with you, Dumi. How are you feeling, by the way? I didn't ask you.
Fantastic.
How you finding this?
Really impressed with everything that I've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trusting that 2024 and 2025, more of Zimbabwe can be here to see the amazing work that artists are doing. Amazing.
I mean, we've got the best partner we could have ever asked for, so I believe we're going to make it there. So let's get to it. You've heard so much today about what creatives are doing, right? You've heard about their efforts as influencers, and I'm sure that piqued your interest because this is a different time from the 90s and the early 2000s when branding and print was a big deal. What are your insights into what these guys are doing and how we can expand on that with today's range of technology? Like, I'll start with you, Shingi.
Wow. Okay, do you mind repeating the last part of your question?
Yeah, sure. What are your insights on what we can do for these young guys, whether they're influencers or rappers or animators, with today's breadth of technology, just to establish their brands?
Okay. I mean, one thing that if you're a young person right now and you're a creator, you should be grateful for is that you've got like every tool that's available to market yourself. Like that cell phone that's in your hand, that's the greatest tool that some of us, when we were younger, we didn't have that tool. So utilize that tool. And I think part of what we've been talking about today is really about how do you go about utilizing that tool. So, I mean, guys, there's something called the internet, right? You can go and find out pretty much anything that you want to find out about on that internet. So there's no excuse for not knowing how to do something. It's more about just having the discipline and going to find that information. So that's the first thing. There's technology that's available. Use it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Dumi, I've got a separate question for you. So we've got a cohort, a group of young people under Scripts and Bars. Scripts and Bars, where you at? And the noise is gone. They're tired now. Sorry, but they've got a lot of music that they're generating, a lot of music videos that they're generating. What is your suggestion based on your studies? What do you think should be their approach to getting their material, together with brands and organizations like yours, to unlock monetary value?
Such a fantastic question. Maybe first of all, let me just say that when I did my thesis, the development of the platforms that were available for musicians was very much at its nascent stage. So this is a good almost 8 years ago.
Wow.
Since then, there's been such an incredible acceleration in terms of platforms that are available, and they're accelerating every day. So similar to what Shingi said, I think it's really about getting out there to find the platforms. A challenge that musicians used to have, I'll talk about musicians, but I think this relates to any artist, that they used to have was getting their stuff out there and the cost of getting onto a platform like radio or just even the access to media like radio. That is no longer, so access is no longer the problem for most people. Most musicians, most artists, access is no longer the problem. Monetization is. And I think that, number one, why is it a problem? Why is monetization a problem? Number one, because there is incredible competition out there. You have to distinguish yourself in a way that makes sense for whether it's your consumer who's going to pay or whether it's another brand that's going to monetize you for the public.
Yeah.
So just being able to distinguish yourself and distinguish what you offer to the market is, I think that's a piece of creative stuff, which I'm not, competent to speak about. But what I am competent to speak about is the business side of things. We are often approached, I think I receive in my inbox every month at least 4 or 5 proposals, maybe even more, from people that are asking for sponsorship. Please may I say that the age of sponsorship is over. Can I say it again?
Oh yeah.
The era of sponsorship is over. Brands are not interested in sponsoring anybody.
Wow.
I know it might be a shock. We've moved into the age of partnerships, not sponsorships. So when you're approaching a brand and you think you've got something that may be of interest, you need to be thinking partner rather than monetary bag that's just going to come out and grant you something.
A creditor, yeah.
A lot of the proposals that I see that come across my desk are very selfish in their focus. They're talking about, we would like you to sponsor us to do this. And you read right to the end, and there's no mention of what value addition or value creation there is for the brand that you're approaching.
Yeah.
So I would say, maybe just in a nutshell, when one is looking at a business model where you're going to monetize through partnerships with brands, I think the very first thing that you need to think about and you need to research as an artist that wants to approach a brand is what value addition can I create for this brand?
Yeah.
And then be able to articulate it really clearly. So maybe let me stop there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, Shingi, earlier on, I likened you to Chris Do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Chris Do comes up with these videos where he can talk about negotiating with clients to get your worth, right? And he talks about these really lofty figures.
Yeah.
And I'm in a room with a lot of designers, and I'm sure they all watch them and say, there's no way I'm going to design a logo for 25,000,
right.
You know?
Right.
If you could translate what Chris Do says, but for the local animators, designers, and so on, what suggestions would you make, or how would you translate that to be relevant to these guys today? Okay,
so excellent question. And you know what? I actually learned this from watching Chris Do. So you're right when you say I'm the Zimbabwean Chris Do. I take that as a compliment. And I mean, it just introduced me to a totally different way of looking at how you price your services. Because whether you're an artist, a creator, what you're selling is a service or whatever you want to call it, it's a product, right?
Yeah.
And so going to what Dumi was saying, the first thing you have to know is I'm doing something that is valuable. I need to find a market, like somebody else said earlier. Who's my customer? Okay, so a certain company comes up. What you have to do then is be able to understand. Unfortunately, art by itself is not going to pay the bills. It's just not. Doesn't matter how good you are. In fact, I think Van Gogh died. Van Gogh, famous painter from many centuries ago. If you don't know who he is, shame on you, because if you're an artist, you should know great artists, right?
He's the ear guy.
Yeah. He died penniless, right? Because he didn't get the business side of it correct. Yeah. Maybe people like Da Vinci and stuff, I think they're the sponsors, so they had a decent life. But we're in this era now where you have to pay the bills, right? And if you love your art and you swear by it, it's incumbent upon you to learn how to market yourself. So in terms of, you have to know how to go and approach the corporates, like Dumi is saying, and say, hey, listen, I've got this. Tell them what's in it for them. Don't talk about yourself, right? Hey, telco, if we partner up, I have, 2,000 followers who are ages, 13 to 25. They listen to what I say. This is the value that I bring to their lives. And I think that these are some of the customers that can bring you business. If I go to Dumi and I say that, I'm positioning myself as somebody who's bringing in value to her business. I've got potential customers for you, Dumi. What can you do for me? Rather than saying, hey, I think I'm a great rapper, I'm a great animator, and, just give me money because you know what, I need it, right? Then specifically to your question, you can charge by just saying, okay, what is everybody else charging? Okay, I heard so-and-so charge $25. It really is a mindset issue at the end of the day. If you can demonstrate a certain value to the business person, you can pretty much charge whatever figure you can come up with, guys. And this is, Chris Do talks about it, he calls it value pricing, where you go and you discuss what is the value of what I'm doing. So, my name is Pius Nyewa. I've got this animated TV commercial I'm going to do for you guys. It will help you sell 10,000 more of these widgets or whatever product you're selling. 10,000 of these widgets at $1 each is going to give you $10,000. Hey, how about you give me 5% of that? What is that? Okay, let's make it simple. 10% of that. That's $1,000, right? So you've positioned and said, listen, I'm bringing you value that's like 10x what I'm going to charge you. And that's the way you got to start thinking about how you value your art. But you have to be aware of the business side of things. You can't just go and say, I'm a great artist, pay me. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
I try my best to kind of explain it.
Oh, well done. Did you want to add on?
I did want to add on to that because I think Shingi has hit it right on the head. We're in the era also of value pricing. Yeah. So it's not enough to look across the fence and say, well, so-and-so, known artist, charges this for the service, therefore I charge this for the service. Because there's a whole chasm that you're missing right in there. So-and-so may have been able to demonstrate all the things that Shingi just said, his following, how much money he's going to create for the brand. And if you can't demonstrate the same, you cannot charge the same. So you'll have people coming to a brand and going, well, the going rate for this service is this. Remember, you're selling an intangible product.
Yeah.
It's a service. It's not, you can't put costs into it as easily as you can for a tangible product. So you've got to demonstrate the value, and value pricing is absolutely where it's at.
Yeah. If I can add something to that.
Yeah, sure.
You know, ultimately, value is in the eye of the beholder. Okay? Yeah. So let me give an example. I think Chris Doe gives this example, right? If we're hanging out here, right, or we're out on the street, and I say to you, hey, and you say to me, I'm thirsty. I'd like a Coca-Cola, or I'd like a bottle of water, right? How much is a bottle of water? Like 50 cents, right? You're only going to pay me 50 cents for it, right? And I can't charge you more for that. You probably say, no, I can go get it anywhere else, right? Same scenario, you're thirsty, you're almost dying of thirst, and you're in the desert. If I say to you, here, this bottle of water is worth $100, if you have the $100, are you not going to pay me, or are you going to pay me? You are going to pay me because it has now become valuable to you. So if I can come to Dumi and say, hey, listen, these are the things I'm going to do for your product, and you know what? I can make you $100,000. Pay me $50,000 for it. If Dumi looks at the figures, it makes sense because she's going to end up with $50,000 more than she would have had if I hadn't come to her.
Wow.
Provided you can deliver, people will pay almost up to, obviously, you're not going to pay me $100,000 for you to make $100,000. But if I come and I charge you $80,000, you make $20,000 on top of that. It makes sense if you want to make the $20,000.
Yeah.
So as long as you can show the value that you're adding to this person's business, you can charge whatever figure you want to come up with. That's how come you got people that design logos for, you know, I don't know, IBM or Tesla, whatever, and they'll charge millions for doing a logo that if you and I went and designed, maybe we can only charge $2,000 for. Same logo, same everything, but they've demonstrated value.
Wow.
And they can charge millions. I mean, I wish one day I can get to that point, you know? Yeah, that's the whole point.
Wow, Shingi, you know, I've been tapping into a lot of the panelists' experiences, all right? And, you know, with other people, they've had the experience to work for this and that studio abroad or, you know, link up with such and such, you know, multinational abroad. Yeah. And your unique experience that no one might ever get from here is working as regional brand manager for an organization like Coca-Cola.
Right.
What did you experience there in practice or in deed that isn't prevalent here that you wish was more?
Okay, excellent question. And I mean, I think it feeds into a little bit of what Pius spoke about. I think the experience working with Disney, you learn so much, right? You think you know stuff, but these are guys that are doing things at the highest level. So for me, it was a great opportunity joining a company like Coca-Cola. The standards at which they operate are phenomenal. So as a young person, I learned about following processes, how to do things in a certain way, the discipline of when you go into a meeting, you need to make notes, you need to take minutes, how to email people, how to address them. Just basic business practices that, unfortunately, you know, what happened the past 20 years, we had a lot of a brain drain, and we lost a lot of talented people. And I see with a lot of the younger business people, younger marketers, they don't have the discipline, they don't have the skills, they don't have the appreciation of the basics of business, the basics of marketing. And so I think that's what's lacking right now, you know. So I just gained so much from learning from the greatest of minds. You know, Coca-Cola used to pride themselves and say, we're a learning organization. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, listen, whatever we've learned from all these years, we keep it. We keep records of what we've done well, what we've done wrong. So after every campaign we would do, a marketing campaign, we had to do a report on it. What worked, what didn't work, why did it not work, why did what we do work, so that you can replicate it. So if you make success, you can replicate it. So if you don't pay attention to what's making things happen, you're leaving it to luck. You know, but so they keep records of what they're learning as they're going along. They're reiterating and iterating and iterating. So those are some of the skills that I gained from that. I'm really grateful for it.
Wow, that's incredible. Dumi, you've got some unique experiences of your own. Just before I ask you your next question, would you like to share any, if anything came to mind?
Nothing came to mind.
Nothing? All right. I was going to say.
I'm so caught up with what he said.
No, I was going to say, don't worry, I'm bouncing right back at you. So in Scripts and Bars, I get to facilitate a lot. I get to do what I'm doing now, but a little bit as a mentor. And I've got this mantra. I got a mantra, and I just want to see if any of the Scripts and Bars people will catch on to it. I often say, leave no something about leaving people. Leave no. Okay, we got it. There we go. Say it.
Leave no man or woman behind.
Great. So you're probably wondering, what the hell is that about? So I don't believe in mentioning big words or abbreviations and assuming that everybody knows what that means. So earlier on, I introduced Dumi as a business development director. And I've got a funny feeling, not too many people know what that is. Sneaky feeling. So the reason why I said I was going to come back to you, I was going to say, do you mind explaining what your job and your role is? Because I believe we've got some really bright people who might be able to connect with what you're trying to do for your brand, and we'll get some light bulbs switching on. You wanna give that a shot?
Okay, cool. A great, great question. So business development, I think it probably has slightly different meanings in different businesses. However, I think the general theming of it is this. It's someone who's trying to find opportunities for the business in different markets. And usually this discipline draws together, there's a financial side of the discipline. So we look at a lot of numbers. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And then there's the side of it where it's creative in the sense that you're looking for new things, innovative things that create value for your brand. And then there's the side of it where it's also people-centered, right? Wow. So where you're making networks and connections and drawing all of this together. Can I just give a quick shout out to one of the best business development people that I know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nyari Purvis, please stand up and wave to the crowd. Nyari Purvis, stand up and wave to the crowd.
Oh, I love moments like these. I didn't quite see it. You mind standing up again? Sorry, I didn't see it.
If you leave today and you haven't spoken to that woman over there, you haven't done yourself any favors. She's the biggest hooker up of
young people,
artists and other people, and businesses that I know. So if you haven't talked to her before you leave, you've wasted an opportunity.
I got you, Dumi. I speak Gen Z, so I got you. This is what she's the plug.
She's the plug. Thank you. She's the plug. So yeah, that's basically what a business development person does. And so I want to maybe, because we're in a sort of creative space, I want to emphasize the fact that I've heard lots of artists say brands in Zimbabwe are not. They're not creative and they're not they don't understand creativity. They don't understand creativity because you have not taken time to actually educate them on how creativity will add value to them.
That's true.
So it's actually part of your responsibility to market educate. If you want to sell your product or your service, it's part of your responsibility to market educate. And it's actually a fallacy to say that corporates or enterprises are not looking for creative things to do. Usually what happens is that the creative things have been poorly presented or poorly packaged because there's no business model behind them. And so, they tend to be rejected. And so then artists, filmmakers, all these people develop this complex where they're like, no, corporate isn't interested in supporting this industry. Yeah. It's not true. We actually, as part of our business development role, we're always looking for the creative. We're always looking for the innovative. It's just, it has to come packaged in a way that business people understand.
Oh, I love that. So you're talking about packaging, right? And I think we got the right person to comment on that. So Shingi, you said you came in and you saw all these interesting, stalls, and these guys are pretty much making their own things, right? And she's talking about how products are packaged.
Right.
I've looked at your LinkedIn and you go ham on when big brands mess up their presentation.
Right.
These are fledgling business people, and I'm curious if you could give a 5-minute seminar on what you think they should enhance within whether it's their brand name or how they're presenting their material, whether it's, Young Killer Comics 3000. What kind of advice would you give in a nutshell to say, focus on this, focus on this, focus on this, stop there, and you'll be fine. You'll be on a right path at least.
Oh man, you're giving me some hard questions here, man.
I read your material.
Okay. So the first thing I want to do is actually reiterate something that Paya said earlier, which was brilliant. And the minute he said it, I thought, man, I haven't thought about that, but it's so true.
Yeah.
If you're on social media, use your real name first and foremost.
Wow.
You can have other accounts with your brand, with your product name, whatever. That was brilliant. Because when somebody is looking for a person who does animation, an illustrator, a musician, they're most likely maybe if you're famous like Ja Praiser, they're gonna look up Ja Praiser. But if you're not that famous, and I assume you're not if you're sitting in here, right? They're gonna be given a name, and they wanna be able to Google that name or look for it on social media. I mean, that was a brilliant point. So that's the first thing. Because some of you guys have got names that are it's hard to remember. Even,
Young Killer 3000.
Yeah, not a bad name if you're on stage, but we also want to know what your real name is, and we can track you and find you, right? And when we're signing contracts, I know how to address you by name, right? Number one. Number two, if you're doing things like visual arts, or I guess this even applies if you're a musical artist, have a place, a digital platform where you're showcasing your best material, okay? Pick 5 of your best designs or whatever it is you've done. If you're a writer, your 5 best pieces, feature those, whether it's on, I don't know, whether you've got a, Behance or whatever, whatever platform you have. Chuck out everything else you're not proud of, okay? Put your best foot forward so that in fact, it's called being discoverable. If I look and type you into on Google or whatever, I can go and find something that demonstrates the kind of work that you do. Try and show as much variety as you can with that kind of work so that you can show what kind of versatility you have. If you stick to one type of style, that's fine. I'm not saying you got to find other things to do. But be discoverable, showcase your stuff, have an email address, have a way people can find you and contact you. And the rest is, like Pius was saying earlier, find people that you're interested in, collaborating with, or if you want to pitch them, just bug them. Yeah. Inbox them. Tell them, hey, this is the kind of work I do. If sometime in the future you'd like something like this, I'd be happy for us to chat. Just start interacting with people, okay? Use social media for that purpose. It's not for you to just show off yourself, etc. Use it to network. Use it to talk to other people. Start conversations with people you admire, people you want to work with.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Let's clap hands for these guys. They're doing amazing. It's full of some wholesome goodness that I didn't anticipate. I knew we were in for a ride. So this is the cool part where I call on Trevor. Is Trevor around? My man. Oh yeah, you know what time it is, brother. You know what time it is. Let's start. If I hear Pius one more time, I'm kidding. Let's start over there.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I would like to ask, I'm a poet. My stage name is Tears in the Soil.
Nice.
The thing is now, my brand, people know me more for Tears in the Soil than my actual name, Takudzwa.
Okay.
So how is it, in those situations, do I still need to open a separate Instagram or separate socials for Takudzwa instead of continuing the route of Tears in the Soil? Because all my social media is Tears in the Soil.
Okay. Do you want to try to answer that? So, if I fail to answer you, I'm going to pass it on to Pius because he's the originator of the idea. What I would suggest, and I don't know if it's practical, maybe you can put Tears as a soul. Tears what?
Tears.
Right? And then maybe in your bio, put something like also known as or whatever, just so that SEO can find you. I don't know. We can talk to somebody who's really like an IG expert and they can tell us how to do that. But somewhere in your bio, whatever, be sure to have your name in there. That's what I would suggest. Because obviously, that's your performing name, and I'm not suggesting you change it. I don't know if anyone else has got bright ideas to help the brother out, please, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
We had another hand over. Diana, is that a hand? That's a hand, isn't it, Diana? Diana, you need to believe in yourself. Let's get the mic to Diana over there. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Diana. So my question would go to you, Dumi. There are artists among us ourselves who may have got it in terms of their presentation to the corporates and stuff, and then they still hit the brick wall, or they can only reach to a certain level of whatever partnership or whatever mutual value can come out of it. How can we get the corporates to actually be able to present themselves or at least identify what they need from us in return, so that it's not so much a one-sided relationship where we have to do everything, we have to educate them, market to them, etc., but then they are also prepared to get the kind of artists, the kind of creativity that they need among us.
So Diane, I have bad news for you. Initially, it's your job to do the heavy lifting. So the challenge that I often see or experience is one of the things that you've got to keep at the very, very top of your mind is that a lot of corporate heads of anything are time pressured.
Wow.
It's true.
Please really internalize that truth. It's not that they're not interested. It's not that they don't want a heavy lift. You'll probably find that most people that are really for their job and for their brands really do want to do good. And they really do want to consider things, but they're time pressured.
Wow.
So, fortunately or unfortunately, that leaves you as an artist in the position where you've got to do most of the mental heavy lifting. You've got to make it as easy as possible for this person who's time pressured to consume what you're packaging. I'll give you an example. An email came into my box literally this last week where it had a great subject line. It said, why are you not, actually I can't remember the subject line, but it asked a question which immediately caught my attention, and I was like, I'm interested. Turns out it was someone who was offering to do some brand work for telco, and it so happens that we're right in the middle of doing some rebranding. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. Unfortunately, where they lost it was then after that great subject line, they rambled and rambled and rambled and rambled and rambled.
Wow.
But because I was interested in their subject line, I then responded, which I don't often. If you lose me in the first email, you've lost me. I then responded and I said, okay, what is it exactly that you want to do for us? And unfortunately, their response rambled some more. At which point, I courteously just responded, which often will not happen. I then just responded and said, okay, we'll keep you in mind. So I think the short answer to your question, and I know I probably haven't said enough, but the short answer to your question is you will have to do the heavy lifting. You will have to package. And the other very quick thing is make sure you're talking to the right person. Not all businesses are the same. Not every business will have the decision for your particular product or service sitting where you think it'll be sitting. My actual title, when I come to things like this, I use the Business Development Director title because it actually falls within the purview of my responsibilities. But my actual title at work is FinCom Director.
Wow.
So you would actually never think that I'm the person to approach. You probably would you'll go around our organization. So doing homework around who's the actual person to speak to, and in different businesses, it'll be a different person.
That's amazing. Let's clap hands for that response. That's thorough.
True.
Yeah, I like it. Yes. All right. Yeah. Apologies.
Afternoon, guys. Afternoon, Dumi. Afternoon, Shingi. Thank you for the presentation. My name is Farai Mzingwa. I am a journalist, founder of Story Untold. My question is, do you have any local case studies of really good examples that actually cross the line? Because you've highlighted the things not to do, but what are some of the things that you have actually done that stood out?
Well, it's a hot potato. You take it. I'll take it.
Okay, can you tell me a bit more? Can you clarify, case studies, showcasing?
So you mean in the area of branding and in the area of business development?
Campaigns.
Campaigns.
So an artist reaches out, or you reach out to them.
Okay.
And it's gone all the way to the public.
I'm gonna tee something up nicely here for Dumi.
Yeah.
Dumi, maybe you can explain to everybody here, how did you, as telco, end up being partnering with Comexposed? What was the process? What happened?
So great question. So I'll if you may allow me, I'll say two things. So I'll answer your question first. Relationship. So I know Patience, and Patience of Comexposed, and we've actually come a long way from me trying to hire Patience to eventually that didn't work out to then Patience coming and working at Comexposed, and then eventually sort of, reaching out and saying, hey, we've got this thing. And one of the things that she did right was she told me early. Artists, sometimes you leave things very late. She told me early, like I knew about this more than 6 months back. And so it facilitated for things to happen, because when things come onto your desk and it's 2 weeks before and someone's going, oh, we need sponsorship for this, most of the time we just ignore. So that's the one thing. And then maybe an example from this year of something that went over the line is we were approached through my plug here, Nyari, by some filmmakers who made a fantastic local movie called Ngoda. And they approached us last year. And after they'd made their movie, we did a premiere with them at Sterkinekor, at Sam Levy's village. Extremely well attended. Really did. In fact, we did 2 premieres, one here and one in Bulawayo. And so that's an example of something that went over the line. And usually the things that go over the line, they're given enough time, the budgets are possible, the artists know what they're pitching, and also they're willing to let the brand also have a voice. I get it that art is sacred, but also let the brand give them a little bit of space to make suggestions about how, especially on the business side, how you can push things over the line.
Great.
Awesome. You wanted to talk about a brand that...
As you were talking, I'm thinking that, when I look at stuff that I've seen on YouTube that's been helpful, at some point we need to connect and break down this whole case study, right? A couple of them, to say this is how it worked so that others can learn from it and say this is how they presented it. This is what sold Dumi on this concept. I think that'll be useful for you guys, right? Yeah, so we need to talk. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
no, it's biased.
I'm not done with you yet, he says. Go ahead.
It's really just going to be a simple one. So I really, really appreciate this conversation. I've had experience 1 or 2. I've been here for a while. So my question is more directed to you. Obviously, you can also answer. But it goes around. So we have a strategy at our studio when it comes to approaching clients. Obviously, strategy. I think you've been to the studio and we've spoken about this. Yeah. Strategy, like it's not just about like, hey, I can make a character. It's not really about that. There's some work behind. So we've have methods that have worked. I think we've been working with Stuart Bank for like 7 years. And so it is tried and tested. We've worked with Dairy Board. But then you get to other corporations and it seems like there's like internal politics that's happening. You know what I mean? It's like you're speaking to the marketing department. They love the idea. They see it. But it gets to a point where they're just like, I think one marketer called him the sniper. Like his job is just to look at a great idea and just says, if it's not printing, I'm not bankrolling it. So it's really quite frustrating because it's like you have great ideas that are tried and tested because they're working for other brands. And what's frustrating is that when the work that we do for other clients drop, the same client says, why aren't you, they get on the nerves of their marketing department, why aren't you doing that? But we've been chatting with their marketing team. How do you go about that?
So one of the things, again, is to just understand the reality of the market that you're working in. My experience of creative products in South Africa is different than in Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, at this point in time, most marketing managers and most decision makers are quite risk averse. So that's why they will often, and Yari and I often talk about, it's a very Me Too environment. That's why you'll get comments like, oh, how come you did that for those people and then you didn't do it for us? It's a very Me Too market because they're very risk averse. They don't want to be seen to spend budget on things that end up not producing. So it's risk, in that sense, it would be a risk, right? But on the other hand, one of the biggest pros we've got going in this context is that we're a very relationship-driven context. So if you can, I'm sure in your method somewhere there is that part where you create relationship. and I would then just add create relationship with the right decision maker. And I would suggest that maybe there's a sniper in every business. I would suggest that sniper become part of that plan. The marketing department may very well love the idea, but remember that in a lot of Zimbabwean businesses as well, finance has a big say in what happens. And therefore, and most finance people are very bottom line driven. They're very numbers driven. So they're not going to be wowed by the bells and whistles and the pretty pictures. They're going to be wowed by the business case. So I think it then circles back to what Shingi was saying at the beginning, which is around understand the business of what you're in, but from the client's perspective. So that would be my thinking. As a service business ourselves, I often have to pitch myself to businesses because we also innovate, right? So we're also in the business of innovating and presenting creative products to our clients, and we reach exactly the same ceilings. And for me, I think one of my learnings in the last year or so has been create relationship and understand what's in the mind of the person who's most likely to object.
Wow.
Yeah.
So before I take that 1-2 questions, I love to throw spanners in the works and just challenge my panel. You guys are up for that. But don't worry, my challenge is always fun. So, Dumi here mentioned that she's got her friend who's excellent at business development. Trevor, you close by? Excellent. You mind going over there for a second? So she said she's got this friend that's excellent at business development. I think her friend has been given the title of the plug. So it's Nyari, yes? Nyari. Just listening to these guys and all the amazing things that they've been sharing, is there anything you'd like to add on? Or anything you're thinking, if I was up there, I would have said it like that? I like drama. I'm sorry. It's entertainment and information. Infotainment.
Infotainment.
So, I'm as a lover of spanners myself, I'd like to throw one at Dumisani. Could she explain to the artists in the crowd why she, in particular, representing Talco, invests in these people? Because if you were to go to another company, I don't know that this conversation would be this easy. And I'm calling it easy because I think she has somewhat of a soft spot for artists.
Don't answer it for her now. Don't answer it for her now. Leave it at the good spot.
Okay, fine. So yes, if I were to approach, for example, an old mutual, would it be this easy?
Ooh.
I had to spice it up. I saw the opportunity and I took it.
Okay, so yes, you are absolutely right. First of all, I'm an artist myself. I'm a musician. I love theater. I've produced theater. I'm a film enthusiast. So I love the arts. But here's the thing. Let me throw my spanner back at you.
Oh wow!
Yari.
These are boomerangs now.
One of the things that I think we've cottoned on to as Talco in the recent past is that if you think about it, every single Zimbabwean, let's talk about Zimbabweans, every single Zimbabwean loves one art form or another.
It's true.
As human beings, we all connect to one art form or another to a greater or lesser extent. And that's our in. For some finance manager, it's going to be the musician. Another finance manager is going to be there was a poet among us. And this is where the relationship part comes in, is getting to know the people that you're pitching to, so that when you come and make the formal pitch, you're speaking to something within them that resonates. That's what I think.
Spanner well returned. Well done. Clap hands. That was nice, huh? A little drama.
Yeah.
I've never seen a facilitator do that. Facilitator just turning your best friend against you. Leo, I promise I'll come to you. Trevor, you want to give him the mic?
Hi, my question, first of all, I was wondering how come no one asked Momo to freestyle?
Yeah, because I haven't done that for a while.
Okay, So I'm in the industry, and one of the biggest challenges is I think maybe it's because of the economy. People are sort of selfish. I don't know if I should use the word selfish, but people want to hold on to the last cent. You know. So, for example, like an animation studio, you're partnering with an agency. They want to make more than you, even if they're not doing the work.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to a point where an agency emailed the client to stop communicating with us. I was like, but wait, we are bringing value to these guys together. We're making these things work. Unfortunately, it went sideways because client was happy with our work and we continue with the work. So my question is to Shingi is, how do you deal with the, because I know people are hitting your DMs with how you hammer some of these brands, you know, on social media or on your LinkedIn. Like, I know there are brands coming out to you, they want to work with you, or their agency is coming to you saying, hey, take it easy on us, my guy. You know, there's always that happening. So I just want to know, how do you manage it? Because there's always these forces pulling together when it comes to that.
Wow. Okay. So let me see how best I can answer that. So funny enough, hardly any of those brands or agencies are actually DMing me.
Wow.
They don't communicate with me. And that's surprising to me, to be honest with you. You know, you think people are like, hey, you know, we saw the review. There's only one company that ever reached out to me, and that was Nyaradzo. The funeral guys, whatever. Yeah, I did some review. It wasn't really negative or whatever, you know, but they said, hey, we appreciate what you said, et cetera, you know, and, you know, thank you for that comment or whatever. Other than that, I've never had any other brands or the agencies working on the brands coming to talk to me. And that, to me, shows something. I think, you know, and it encapsulates a whole lot of things that I'm going to try to hit on very quickly. Sure. What's happened is that we, generally speaking, and I think from a business point of view, from marketing point of view, the businesses, I'm talking about the businesses right now, I think we've adopted very low standards over the past 20 years, okay? So the way we operate, the way we market is just substandard. We're right next door to South Africa. When you look at South African marketing, South African advertising, there's a huge gap between what's coming out of Zimbabwe and what's coming out of a country like South Africa. You know, so that's number one. And the reason for that is simple. I still believe this, I did a video about this long ago, is that there is just not enough competition for a lot of these companies to do anything more than they've been doing. So there's always been more demand than supply. So they'll continue selling the mealy meal the same way they were doing when I was 5 years old, the same old tired jingles, et cetera, et cetera. There's no creativity, there's no storytelling. So whatever worked in 1985 is still working now. So they're like, why should I pay you $20,000 to shoot me some fancy commercial that's got some fantastic characters when I can just go do a simple jingle and run radio ads? You know, a lot of advertising in Zimbabwe is driven by radio and full-page ads in the Herald, you know, that's it. So it makes it very difficult for us as creators to come with innovative ideas because the guys are not under pressure, you know. So, and this is what makes it really, really tough for creators to come and say to a business, hey, I want to create value for you, et cetera, unless you can strongly demonstrate that, you know, you can sell me you can increase my sales by 5% more, and, you know, et cetera, I'm not going to buy into whatever idea you're giving. Then to come into your point, with the agencies, there's also lack of professionalism. I think there's a lot of greed. You know, a lot of these guys are not creating anything. They're using you to sell to the client, taking your intellectual property and basically, you know, marking it up like tenfold because they have the relationship. So coming back to Dumi's point, try as much as you can to have a direct relationship with the business that you want to market yourself to. Sometimes it's not possible, and if you have to do it through the agencies, again, when you walk into that meeting with the agency, know your value, like I spoke about earlier. And guys, this is hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I'm going to tell you this. Be prepared to walk away. If you're not getting somewhere near the figure that you want or the benefit that you want, be prepared to walk away and say, you know what, I don't have some pride in yourself and what you're doing. and say, hey, you know what, agency, what I'm doing, I really believe has great value, and I'm sorry you don't see it that way, but it's okay. I'm gonna walk away. Can I tell you something? Do that 2, 3, 4 times. At some point, they're gonna come back to you and say, okay, you know what, I think we need to talk. Because if they really need what you're doing, they're gonna come back to you. So that's the other thing. Whatever you're doing, if it has value, eventually somebody will pay for it. If people are not paying for it, they're not seeing value in what it is you're offering. Change your tactics. Maybe try something else. Try a different style of illustration. I don't know. Do your research, okay? It doesn't mean you're not valuable. It just means the market is not buying what you're selling, okay? But keep working at it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep knocking on doors. Keep just finding different strategies, but know your value. Know that what you're doing is valuable. That's the most important thing. Don't go there with a beggar attitude, because people don't respect that. You know, from a psychological, emotional point of view, you can tell when somebody's begging for something, and they don't respect you, and they should respect you. You're an artist. You're bringing beauty to the world. You know, we need artists. The world without art cannot exist as far as I'm concerned. You know, but we need to prove it to these other people that don't see things the way we see them.
You can
tell
now.
I'm very passionate about this.
You can clap now. That was the Selma moment. Let's take one more question. Go for it.
Hi, I also just want to throw a spanner back at Dumi, actually. When we talk about this issue about relationship building, I think one of the core things is that there's been a commoditization of creativity. And so because of that commoditization, you start thinking to yourself that I need the skills of a salesperson. I need to be able to be good with a person. We should not. The whole idea of talking about relationships is not important. We are creatives. Our work needs to speak for itself. And I think that is exactly where our problem is coming, because now what's happening is that there can be someone else who knows I can be very good at, let's say, Photoshop. Someone else has got a free account on Canva, right? But they're a good relationship person. They're getting jobs. I'm not getting jobs because they've got a relationship. That, for me, is actually one of the core problems. And what you'll find, even if you're in the industry, is that's what's also making the price points go down. For those of us who've been in the industry for over a decade, we know the kind of money we used to make in this industry. I went to Cannes I'm for training in Cannes. For people who know those kind of areas, right? And that was from Zimbabwe. We had that kind of money. This is a lucrative, multi-million-dollar industry. Now it's not. And it is because of this commoditization. It's this thing that people focusing on relationships. They're not focusing on the craft, because everyone knows I can just go download something on Shutterstock, put it together, sell it to a client because they know who I am, because this is my cousin, this is my whatever. And I think that is the problem, and we need to upgrade the level of creativity beyond a commodity.
May I? Thank you. So I want to say this as humbly as I can. You're artists and you bring value to the world, but you're not that special.
Yep.
Every one of us that is hustling to bring a product of value to a customer, we're all doing the same thing.
So true.
So you cannot tell me that your job can only be to be a technician. In fact, for many, telco's been in the industry for over 31 years. Most people don't actually know that. And why? It's because of this very mindset. We said to ourselves in the beginning, we're like, we don't do this marketing thing. That's what those people want to shout. And for sure, you're so right. Often the people who shout the best don't have the best product. Right? So they put up the billboards and people rush to them but the thing is, we had to come down to Mother Earth and realize that creating a beautiful, well-functioning product without now creating the relationship with the customer is absolutely useless. At a film forum, I heard someone say, we create films for ourselves. We shouldn't have to create. No, you don't. Unless you're Steven Spielberg and you've got a lot of money to just do things that are just like, if you want your art to get to the world, you've got to also meet the other side somewhere. So developing the skill of selling, developing the skill of marketing, developing the skill of finance is not actually a waste of your time. Yes, you may have to decide how much time you're going to spend doing this versus that. But at the end of the day, this is the challenge all of us are faced with as business people.
Amazing.
Wow. Can I add something very quickly to that?
Yeah, sure.
Your art cannot sell itself. Doesn't matter how great it is, okay? And you're never going to make it if you're an artist and you put a full stop after that. You must learn how to sell. You must learn how to market yourself. There is too many other talented artists out there for you to sit back and think, you know what, I've done my great work of art and somebody's gonna buy it. Please, guys, if you wanna make it, if you wanna put food on the table for your family, you have to learn how to market whatever it is you're making. Everyone in this world has to eat, and to eat, you have to know how to sell. So go get those skills. I ask you humbly to do that. Okay, guys.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been speaking to Dumi, Nkala and Shingi Sabeta. Let's give them a really, really rapturous round of applause.
Thanks,
that was
guys.
amazing.
Thanks,
That was
everybody.
amazing.